Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Tuesday, August 29th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, to include my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. First up, the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Michael Lorenzen and Tyler Anderson are the starters. You know, I thought Tyler Anderson was pitching better in the second half of the season, but now as of late, his last three starts, just not good enough, giving up 7 earned runs, 5 earned runs, and then 4 total runs in his last game against Cincinnati. All 3 losses for the Angels, all losses by more than 2 runs. It's tough to back up here on the road against the Phillies team. It's hit lefties well in the last month. Lorenzen threw the no-hitter, then struggled against the Nationals and Giants his next 2 starts, but I still think he's the much better option on the mound in this game. I also think the Phillies are the much better bullpen, so if this game is close late, I think the bullpen, the advantage certainly has to go to Philadelphia. So I'll lean towards the Phillies on the money line and run line here at Citizens Bank Park. Next up, we go to Comerica Park as the Yankees take on the Tigers. We're going to see Skubal and King as the starters. And even though it's been a disappointing season for the Yankees, the one thing they've done well offensively is hit left-handed pitching. In the last month, they're number 2 in baseball in OPS, number 1 in isolated power. They face a lefty here in Skubal, who was pitching really well at Comerica Park up until his last start, where he gave up 4 earned runs against the Cubs in a 6-4 Cubs win. I don't necessarily love this matchup for Skubal, and I think Michael King has been solid in the role he's had this year with the Yankees. 3.13 ERA overall. It's going to be more of a bullpen game for the Yankees, but this bullpen's actually been decent in the last month. An ERA at 3.64 and the 6th best Sierra as well. I'm going to take the New York Yankees here on the money line on the road. I think Sandy's the better option here, and I like the fact that he faced this Rays lineup already once at Tropicana Field. It was one of his best starts of the season. It was a complete game, only 1 run, 7 strikeouts, and that 7-1 Marlins win. Savali, his last game was strong against the Rockies. He had 9 strikeouts, but still gave up 3 runs and a home run to a team in Colorado that we know has struggled mightily on the road offensively. I don't like Savali in this matchup. I think when you look at the expected numbers, there are some reasons to be a little bit concerned regression-wise. I'm going to take the Miami Marlins here on the money line at home. Next up, the Chicago White Sox taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Jesse Scholtens and Dean Kramer are your starters. We see a pretty steep total in this game, but I like the under here. Dean Kramer's in good form. He's facing a White Sox team and has not been great offensively against righties. For me, I don't think Chicago does too much offensively here. Scholtens has been better on the road this season, despite his last road start at Coors Field, where he struggled. Other than that, he's been really sharp. He's got a sub-4 ERA away from guaranteed rate field in 37 1/3 innings, a low opponent's batting average at 237. So, the Orioles are a good lineup, but against righties in the last month, right around league average numbers. I think Scholtens and this White Sox bullpen good enough here to keep this game under the total. I think the Orioles win it, but they're a pretty big favorite here on the money line, so I don't see a ton of value there. I'd rather just take the under 9 runs. Next up, the Washington Nationals taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Mackenzie Gore and Jose Barrios are your starters. Now, I know the Nationals have been so profitable on the road this season, but I just don't love this matchup for him. Jose Barrios has been consistent at home this year. He got 64 innings of work, 66 strikeouts at Rogers Center with a 3.09 ERA. Mackenzie Gore on the other side has struggled against teams that hit lefties well. The Blue Jays are one of those teams in the last month. Very good numbers, OPS and ISO-wise. Gore just faced the Yankees his last game. Another team hits lefties well. He struggled in that game. He gave up 4 unearned runs, so it wasn't always, all the way his fault, but two home runs, 2 earned runs, a 9-1 Yankees win. It was an ugly loss for Washington. I don't know if we see as ugly of a loss here, but I do think the Blue Jays win and cover the run line in the end. So give me Toronto laying those 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Boston Red Sox. J.P. France and Brian Bayo are the starters. We just saw this pitching matchup last week on August 24th. That was at 17-1 Red Sox win. And although France gave up those 10 earned runs in that game, I'm actually equally as concerned with Brian Bayo in this matchup, facing the same lineup twice. And in that game against Houston, the Red Sox had a huge lead early, so Bayo didn't really have too much to worry about. He pitched, without really any concerns. He went 7 innings, 1 run, but still gave up 9 base hits, and he had a 9-16 ground ball to fly ball ratio, which is a big red flag to me, as I consider Bayo a very much so pitch to contact ground ball specialist. So if he's giving up that 9-16 ground ball to fly ball, that's not what you want to see. And, we've seen Bayo in the last, in the second half of the season struggle a bit, giving up sharp contact, giving up home runs, extra base hits, and the strikeout numbers haven't really been there to back him up. So I am a little bit worried with Bayo in this matchup at Fenway Park. Very hitter-friendly ballpark. I think the Astros get to him. I think the Red Sox get to JP France as they did last week, and this Red Sox lineup's been great against right-handed pitching. So I think we see a high-scoring game here. We see a very steep total for good reason. Give me the over here in Houston, Boston. Next up, we go to the Texas Rangers New York Mets matchup. It's going to be Andrew Heaney and Jose Quintana on the mound. Now, for me, I think it's worth a shot here taking the Mets at plus money on the money line. The Rangers and Mets have hit lefties pretty well in the last month. Heaney has just not been great as of late. He hasn't been able to go too deep into ball games. His control's been off. We saw another game where he only went 4 1/3 innings his last start against the Twins. 7 base hits allowed, 3 earned runs, 3 home runs was a big concern as well. And the Rangers bullpen hasn't been the best in the last 30 days, neither has the Mets. But the Rangers have also are right now 2 games under 500 on the road this season, while the Mets are a couple games above 500 going into Monday's game at Citi Field. So I'm going to take the New York Mets here on the money line, getting plus money. Next up, the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Minnesota Twins. We're going to see Gavin Williams and Pablo Lopez as the starters. I'm going to take the Guardians in this matchup. I think we're getting a really good price with Cleveland, a team that's played really well against Minnesota over the last couple of seasons. Pablo Lopez just has not been able to pitch well at Target Field. Another game, last start against the Rangers, where he went 5 innings, 10 base hits, 5 earned runs, and 3 home runs. And he's been really sharp on the road for Minnesota, but at Target Field, he's got 74 innings of work, a 4.62 ERA, a steep opponent's batting average, 9 home runs given up. Just hasn't been very good there. Gavin Williams has been a sharp rookie starting pitcher for Cleveland. His last game was not his best. We know that, but that was against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Very tough matchup for him. I think we see him bounce back here. I think there's value with Cleveland. Give me the Guardians on the money line. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Seth Lugo and Zach Thompson are the projected starters. Not my favorite game on the board. You got 2 of the more disappointing teams in the National League this year. It's tough to have a lot of faith in either of these teams, but I'll lean towards the Padres. I think Seth Lugo is the slightly better option on the mound. I think the Padres have the better lineup barely. This is just a matchup with 2 teams not really playing for much. Thompson's got a little bit of regression concerns with his expected ERA above 4. His last 3 starts not really pitching deep into games, giving up at least 1 home run in each of those last 3. The Cardinals are 1-4 in his last 5 starts. Lugo, his last couple of games, really sharp numbers. 12 innings of shutout baseball, 13 strikeouts, 2 wins, 2 shutout wins for the Padres in those 2 games. So give me San Diego here on the money line on the road. Next up, an NL Central battle between the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs. We're going to see Corbin Burnes and Justin Steele on the mound in this one. Should be a great game. We obviously have a great pitching matchup and a big, important game in the NL Central. The Cubs have crushed righties in the last 30 days. The Brewers have crushed lefties. The Brewers are really low strikeout rate against lefties in the last month. I think it's like 13% as a team, which is unreal. I'm going to lean towards the Brewers here. I think Milwaukee has the advantage in the bullpen. I know Corbin Burnes has not been great in the month of August, and it's not going to be an easier matchup here, but I think his offense is going to be able to back him up. This Brewers team finds ways to win games, especially late in games. They've been really able to get to opposing teams' bullpens as of late, and their own bullpen has been strong in the last month. A good ERA, good expected numbers to go with it. Justin Steele, it's tough. He's tough to beat this season. A great, 14-3 record, sub-3 ERA. He pitches well at Wrigley Field, but I do think Milwaukee, the ability to limit those strikeouts, get on base, a good walk percentage as well against lefties, gives them the upper hand in this matchup. I'm going to go with Milwaukee Brewers here on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Kansas City Royals. Cole Reagans for Kansas City, no official starter for the Buccos. Cole Reagans has been one of the better pitchers in the American League in the last month or so since being traded to Kansas City. Right now that trade looks like a big W for Kansas City as Reagans in the month of August, 29 2/3 innings, 44 strikeouts, and a 2.12 ERA. The Royals are 3-2, even though they've been one of the worst teams in the league. They're 3-2 in his last 5 starts, including a win over the Chicago Cubs. I like the Royals in this matchup. Reagan's facing a Pirates team that's not been good against lefties, really in the second half of the season in general. I think Reagan's gives the Royals 6 or more quality innings here with good strikeout numbers to go with it. The Pirates' bullpen's been good, so I don't know if Kansas City has a huge day offensively, but enough to win this game and probably cover the run line as well. Give me Kansas City here laying the 1.5 runs and on the money line a split bet. Next up, we go to Coors Field as the Braves take on the Rockies. Peter Lambert for the home team, Charlie Morton on the other side. I expect a high-scoring game in this one, but Charlie Morton's been so inconsistent. We saw his last start, 7 innings of 11 strikeouts, shutout baseball. So I don't really want to put too much faith in the Rockies' bats. I'm just going to isolate this game to the Braves and look at the team total over for Atlanta, as I like their matchup here against Peter Lambert, who has struggled at Coors Field this season. He's been decent on the road, but in 31 1/3 innings at Coors, he's given up 8 home runs, a 2.92 opponent's batting average, and a 6.61 ERA. We know the Braves crush right-handed pitching, so they should be able to get to Lambert. And even when Lambert leaves the game, this Rockies bullpen's not been much better, with an ERA at 6.56 in the last month. The second worst Sierra, one of the worst xFIPs as well. I think the Braves score from the first inning to the ninth inning. Give me the over here for the team total for the Atlanta Braves. Next up, we see the Oakland A's taking on the Seattle Mariners. Ken Waldichuk and George Kirby are the starters. Now, both of these starting pitchers struggled against the Chicago White Sox of all teams in their last starts. Waldichuk went 5 innings, 8 base hits, 5 earned runs, and 3 home runs against Chicago. George Kirby went 5 2/3, 3 runs, a home run, so just shy of a quality start. Still had 9 strikeouts in that game. Just wasn't his best outing overall. I think Kirby bounces back. I think he is the better starter in this matchup by far, and he's been really good at T-Mobile Park this season with a sub-3 ERA in 75 1/3 innings. I don't trust Waldichuk against the Mariners team. It's been hitting lefties very well. Give me the Mariners here on the run line. Next up, the Cincinnati Reds taking on the San Francisco Giants. Brandon Williamson and Alex Cobb are your starters. Now, I've mentioned a few times in the last few starts for Alex Cobb that I really like his game, but he just was not in good enough form for me to back him, and he struggles mightily on the road. Now we saw a bounce-back start for Cobb in his last game. 5 innings, 2 runs is not amazing, but it's certainly on the right track, and the Giants went on to win that game in the end 8-6 over the Phillies, which was a tough matchup on the road for Cobb. Now Cobb finally returns to Oracle Park after pitching a really tough road trip. He faced the Braves and the Phillies, but now he's back at Oracle here. I think he bounces back and gives the Giants 5-6 good innings. At home this season in 60 innings of work, he's got a 2.25 ERA, a low opponent's batting average, and only 5 home runs given up. On the other side, Brandon Williamson, the lefty, he's facing a Giants team that in the beginning of the season, and really throughout most of the season, has struggled against left-handed pitching, but has certainly made improvements in the last couple of weeks or so. I do think the Giants get to Brandon Williamson. The Reds are 1-4 in his last 5 starts. I think the Giants also have a big advantage in the bullpen in this matchup. So give me San Francisco here on the money line at Oracle Park. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Merrill Kelly and Clayton Kershaw are your projected starters. Now, Merrill Kelly has notably struggled against the Dodgers in the last couple of seasons, especially in 2022. But I actually like what I'm seeing from him against the Dodgers this year. I mean, he faced them on opening day, pitched pretty well in that game. The control is off a little bit, but still 4 strikeouts through 3 2/3 innings, no earned runs. That was a 2-1 Arizona win. Now, Kelly had to face the Dodgers his next start on April 6th, a really tough spot to be in. Facing the same team twice, a very good team, and a team that you've struggled against notably. He struggled in that game a bit, and he gave up 4 total runs in that 5-2 Dodgers win. But he didn't face the Dodgers again until August 9th. He pitched really well in that game. That was at Chase Field. The Diamondbacks bullpen and lineup were struggling at the time. That's why they lost that game 2-0, but it wasn't because of Kelly. He went 6 innings, a shutout ball, 2 strikeouts. He didn't miss a lot of bats, but he kept the ball on the ground, limited sharp contact. He was really good in that game, and he's been really good in the month of August overall with a 2.08 ERA in 30 1/3 innings of work, 37 strikeouts to go with it. The Diamondbacks have started to make some improvements in the bullpen, in the lineup. Their numbers against lefties have not been great this season, but very, very low strikeout rate in the last month. Very, very high walk rate. I think that bodes well against Kershaw, whose strikeout numbers kind of been all over the place this season. I think there's value in Arizona in this matchup. Give me the Diamondbacks on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. But don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.